All right, I think we are live now, which is interesting. Okay, so today we have here four beautiful, lovely Euro Cup matches. So Belgium, Ukraine, Turkey, Czechia, and Portugal matches. Okay, maybe I should talk about it later with maybe Jesse in person because he also looks very interested. Yeah, okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's webinar, how to scale puzzle games successfully in 24. So as you see, it's very nice to have this webinar with all of you here and joined by four industry professionals ready to share their know-how, which is really cool because we level up each other. And I always say that there is no other industry that competitors come together to discuss the best trends, to share the latest insights. So that's really cool that you make it here, guys. So yeah, back to the topic. Puzzle games have always been a fun favorite in the mobile gaming, from Zynga to many more big companies. But scaling these games in today's marketplace kind of like isn't a trick anymore. So right now, especially like in Turkey, I'm sure, as you know, there are already so many studios with like huge investments, not only just Peak, Spike, Dream Games, but many more than I think 10, 20, and they have like a very aggressive mindset to be another Peak, another billionaire. So which makes the market much more challenging because the competition is getting really high. So yeah, that's exactly why we are here to unpack, share know-how. All right, before we dive into this chaos, this chaotic industry highlights, let me introduce our panelists who will bring a wealth of experience to you. And we have Jesse, CEO and co-founder at Geeklab. Actually, we can call him a guru in A/B testing, I believe, and he knows the in and out of optimizing games before even hitting the market via Geeklab. If you don't know the company, please have a check.
Yes.
It's not promotion.
Thanks for the intro. You should always do those for me. That was very nice. Thank you. Yeah. So at Geeklab, we're a company that focuses on UA and ASO to help games optimize their marketing and find the right audience and the audience that actually converts and plays the games and pays for the games. And on top of that, on the other side, we help other game companies to successfully launch games. So we do a lot of pre-launch A/B testing and figuring out how to find the real audience and where to find it, both through our agency and our tech that we have in our hands. So excited for the panel and to learn more and share what I know.
Thanks, Jesse. And we have Claire Rosain, and she is co-founder at Youthwave Games. And actually, she has been doing a lot on LinkedIn. I think she's one of the most active people on this social industry life. So I think she is one of the masters at puzzle user acquisition. And more than that, she's also active in right now Africa gaming scene, which is another very rare niche thing, I think. And she would like to share her strategies on capturing the attention of puzzle enthusiasts in this competitive area. What do you say, Claire?
Hello, super excited to be with you. I worked, on the top grossing game, puzzle games, including Dream Blast. So super excited to speak about scale or rescale. And I have a studio, yes, in Africa with my co-founder Isdin. And we focused on scaling what is the next top grossing game. So super exciting to be there.
Merci. And we have Faisal Nazir, and he's founder and CEO at 8 Great Games. And of course, as you understand from the studio, he's a knack at developing, publishing games at a good level, and he's here to share know-how, literally spilling the beans on what he knows from game concepting to launching. And yeah, happy to have you. What do you say, Faisal?
Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, so I'm the CEO at Youthwave Games, and we make casual puzzle games, but we don't just make some iteration on existing genres. We try to add innovation to those games and have like a innovative mechanics in those games. So happy to share all of our learnings we had and the experiences, the challenges, the breakouts, all that kind of stuff. Happy to share all the experience.
Thank you. Highly appreciate it, especially when it's 50 degrees there. It makes more sense. So last but not least, joining us as well is Tunan, and he's a Senior Business Development Manager at SocialPeta. And thanks to SocialPeta, by the way. Maybe I should have started with that, but they are organizing the panel, guys. Yeah, and Tunan will be sharing with us what at Creatives really make puzzle games pick on players level, what they add up to the industry, what's different. Yeah, what would you add up, Tunan?
First of all, thank you for the introduction, Ömer. And I would like to thank all of attendees for being here. I'm the Senior Business Development Manager at SocialPeta for about 2 years. I think some of our attendees know about SocialPeta, but for those who don't know about SocialPeta is an ad intelligence platform. What we provide is we have ad intelligence, like we have ad creatives data in our platform. You can check your competitors' analysis, and you can see advertisers' promotion analysis and what kind of networks, for example, they are using. It's basically a user acquisition platform, and it gives you some ideas for your marketing. For those who wants to know more about SocialPeta after the panel, I would be glad to introduce more about SocialPeta.
Thanks a lot. And I think we're ready to kick off. So I do have one question, and it's for everyone. So as we chatted, considering the highly ultra level competitiveness in this mobile gaming market, and especially also the puzzle gaming genre, which we mentioned about even just Turkish gaming scene, from Peak Games, Dream Games, many more like Dream Games, Spike Games, and I'm not even talking about Candy Crush Saga whatsoever. We have so many new studios, and they would like to scale their puzzle games. They have investment or not. So what do you believe are the biggest challenges faced by developers and marketers in this puzzle space currently? What do you think? And just to add up, what would be the key features to define a successful, good puzzle game in the product level? Maybe we can start with Faisal.
Yeah, so let's first talk about the challenges, and then we can look at what makes a great puzzle game. So one of the biggest challenge, if you look at the puzzle segment at the moment, there are just very few big players who are just consolidating the market. They're making billions, but there are not many small players who are rising to the top. But there's one segment like hybrid puzzle games. So people are making hybrid puzzle games, which they eventually adapt to those games, and then they're trying to make those games into casual puzzles. So there is that one segment where developers and publishers are trying to enter into this very competitive segment by adding a lot of creativity. Because if you just make another match 3 or another bubble shooter, it will be really hard for you to break into this market. So you need innovation. Innovation will be rewarded. We have lately seen few hybrid puzzle games which are now turning and transitioning into casuals, because now they have become very strong. Their in-app purchase revenue went much higher and their ad revenue is much lower. So basically the biggest challenge is there's not much innovation in this segment. And it's very expensive to do innovation in this segment, because it's very expensive to develop these games, and these games take a lot of time to develop and optimize before they can even reach this stage to scale those games. So that's more like the big challenge. In terms of, also there's one challenge. If you are a new studio and you go to a venture capital or any investor and tell them, hey, we want to go into puzzle segment. So the climate is not good for venture investments. And then the puzzle is super competitive. It will be very hard to get investments in that segment, even though you have successful examples of studios doing well in the currently in the market, but not small studios, like very consolidated, very like experienced studios are doing well there. So if we talk about like what makes a good game which you launch now and there is a chance for that to work, I would say it's not just the game at the moment. It's more about the expertise of the team. You can make a really nice game, but if you don't know how to operate it, how to do live ops on that game, how to market that game, and also you need to have some sort of expertise or at least understanding of this genre previously before even making this game firsthand. So if you look at like the dream game success of Royal Match, right? Some of the people already had the experience working on puzzle games. So I think the experience building a great product, also doing great marketing and know-how on live ops. I think this whole cycle needs to be there in order for a game to succeed. Game alone on its own is not going to succeed. But obviously, if we look at the like overall features within the game, like within the product, there's actually a pretty much a playbook. You need to have certain number of features like meta, a proven economy. All the puzzle games monetize when you fail in the game. That's pretty much all what puzzle games do at the moment. So you have a playbook for monetization, you have a playbook for long-term progression, like meta features, live op features like challenges and events, stuff like that. So there is playbook for the product itself, but I think the times are changing. There is marketing challenge, it's no longer easy to acquire really high value users for same amount with what we are used to in past. So I think having experienced team who understand all these four facets, like marketing, the product, the live ops, stuff like that, I think then you can have success in the current environment. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think it's really fair. I mean, Royal Match now is the only game growing on the market. Kudos for the 1 billion revenue. It's getting really tough to scale a puzzle game because like users are getting really difficult, especially on the quality of the content. Also the level design, or you can progress on your game, and also is it a game they already saw or they already have on their device as well. Like if you already have a Royal Match and you see an ad of another Royal Match, at the end of the day, what is the USP? So I think on puzzle games, I mean, what I would recommend for all the new studio is really to do it your own and don't copycat what is out of there. While it's true, that there is some mechanics that you should reuse, I think the layer of like your IP that you are going to have to in the game, or even like the marketing that you are going to develop on social media, especially organically and so on, should be your own. And I think it's what will make the scale. It's not necessarily having a copycat of Royal Match and just pushing in the app store and so on. Scale is really difficult because this is where your revenue multiplier is actually decreasing. I work with a lot of studios in consulting who are small scale. They are still profitable. There is no issue with this. But as much as an issue. So you need also to balance what is your sweet spot between a big scale and a scale that is also fitting your cash flow, the revenue that you expect, and the profit that you expect as well. Like when you take some big player, like for instance Pixel United, the payback is more than 2 years, sometimes 3 years, and so on. So as a small business, where do you stand is also something you need to think about, especially when you do a puzzle games.
Yeah, that sounds good. And actually, more than that, what I believe in current market, you will always be behind the market. So I think it's kind of rare because you start to your business and burning money by accepting that you will kind of start losing, and you start winning by actually losing, just like classic user acquisition tactic. So that's actually kind of funny for our industry.
And I can actually continue to some of the stuff where Faisal, you mentioned nicely about like the hybrid games being a thing, and Claire about not copycatting. So I think there's like a you know, a golden red line in there, or great like a segue in between, where I took a look at like the top 50 games in the tier 1 countries in puzzle, and out of them, like only 1/5 were like released like later than in the beginning of 2023. None of them which was released actually in 2024. So it's very, very hard to crack in there. But out of those that ended up doing it, so it was around 50-50 split, where a part of those were like these, Faisal, you were mentioning about like these more hybrid cores, where you take maybe something out of the hyper casual end, you're bringing a lot of like the more meta heavy puzzle elements into it, and just bring like a, even though it sounds like a trivial thing to do, but somewhat of a novel core gameplay feature back to the puzzle genre. And then the other like segment was literally copying, but not directly something, apart from one title which did exactly that, but basically copying 2 different things and then putting those together for a new sort of a combination. And I think that's kind of one great trick of doing it. None of the panelists have made a single $1 million game. I just got a question there. But being part of launching a few, like Dream Blast as an example, which is part of the top 50 games. But yeah, and on top of that, I think that same sort of split between like how these 2 like segments of new games being launched or split was also shown in the advertisement strategies. This is an everlasting topic, fake ads and ads that have nothing to do with the gameplay. I love this topic, and we could have a panel only about this as well. But it was kind of split in 2. So whenever you combine 2 different like novel things, like Chrome Valley Customs as an example, took this completely new approach with the target audience, with the like a very sort of 90s, early 2000 driven meta with the car custom part, and then like a puzzle core. So with games like this, the ads themselves aren't typically just gameplay ads showcasing the puzzle core itself, but focuses a lot more then on the added value that's in the game apart from the puzzle core. Whereas then if it was more sort of a novel core, like any one of these Twisted Tangles or other sort of games, so then it could rely more or just solely on the gameplay itself. So I thought that was quite of an interesting thing to see as well.
Yes,
Maybe
100%. And actually, like, you know, like you mentioned, you know, like Dream Blast and, you know, like some other top of the chart games. I mean, I didn't saw any review games out of Angry Birds that were top grossing games, right? So it also demonstrates how important it is for you even to have your marketing outside of your core and really to build something if you want to scale at those levels that are, you know, like sometimes $1 billion games. If you want to scale at the same level, you need to have something strong, a story, a narrative. You need to be a Netflix games and have even something, you know, beyond the game, because at this stage you don't only like to play, you really, you know, you like the narrative ads that you see, you like the series, and so on and so on. So I think the marketing part out of it, especially on top grossing game, not speaking about top install, is something you need to really care about.
Okay, and now I can mention everyone has covered many great points. What I want to share from our SocialPeta current reports, according to our SocialPeta current reports, we saw that puzzle game advertisers are rising around the world. So the competition is getting higher and higher. So we can see that there's some market saturation, and the mobile puzzle game market industry is flooded with thousands of games, and it's not easy to enter the market. And this market saturation is one of the biggest challenges, and you have to come up some unique features. And another thing that we have to we see, especially in the market challenge, user acquisition costs. As we see with so many options available, acquiring users can be expensive. So as SocialPeta, what we provide is we provide at creative data. So you can check your competitors at creative and their promotion strategy. You can get some inspiration from your competitors or from the successful cases in the market. I'm not telling 100 copy, but it's just some ideas. So you can get more user acquisition friendly promotion strategy. And so this is another the challenge we have been seeing, user acquisition costs. And for puzzle games, another challenge, retention rates are a little bit, I can say that for puzzle games, they often struggle with retaining users. This is kind of like due to the repetitive nature of puzzle games. So this is one of the aspects we have seen. And sometimes there's also another challenge like monetization. So for example, it's not easy to find the right balance, but if you find the right balance, like in-app purchase or in-app advertising, it's good. But if you can't find, you may lose already existing players, and it may give damage to your retention rates. And for puzzle games, I can also say that engaging gameplays are so crucial. Sometimes we don't see this. For example, the core mechanics, for example, should be easy to understand and challenging to master. I'm not in the game development side, but I'm having these ideas from, especially we are working with game developers and game publishers. What I have heard from them is that like engaging gameplay is very important, very crucial. And especially high quality games are becoming very popular in the market. So high quality graphics, appealing art styles are very important. And I mentioned that I'm not in the game development part, but I should also tell that a variety of levels are very important in the game. I can tell you this from my own experience as a user, as a player. When I see some games like there's no challenge and there's no levels, or if it is too hard or if it is too easy, it's as a challenge. And lastly, I can cover this topic with social interactions in the puzzle games. Especially, this is not only in the puzzle games, but in many game genres, it's also gaining popularity. Social interactions, social features are becoming highly important, like social sharing options or multiplayer modes are becoming so available. From my experience, for example, when I play a game, when I see a social interaction, it's very making me engaged with the game. So this is also becoming very popularity in puzzle games. And I guess companies who put these social interactions in their games can be successful in the long run.
Yeah.
That
One
sounds
thing
good.
I would like to add. Should I go?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So one thing I would like to add in terms of, you mentioned like retentions on the puzzle games. I think if you have a very sticky core, even with very limited content, you can get a really strong retention for early retentions. But in order for users to stick for long term, you need a lot of content, like a lot of levels, and also the balancing of level. You can have a really, really nice core mechanic of the game, but if you don't design levels well, that could be like 20% day one retention versus 40% day one. That's how big of the difference it can be if you don't design the levels well. So yeah, it's like sticky core is first thing, and then having really, really balanced difficulty curve level. I think these are two really important things in terms of for the retentions of the puzzle. But for our experience, I think after some time, the curve of long-term retention just plateaus, and users who are like power users just stick forever. So there might be like 4 or 5% users left after the end of the month, but they stick for very long time. That's just the nature of puzzles. I think they can be repetitive, but they can be very addicting because they build the habit loop of the user if they are really well made. So that's just our experience so far.
Yeah, that sounds good. And actually, I also would like to thank to Shubham because like he has really cool comments, and I also love his first comment as none of the panelists have made a single $1 million game, and I saw Clea's answers as well. So she was mentioning Cashman Casino, which I played,
Yes.
and it's pretty cool.
I mean, I love Shubham question. Thank you. I think it's really valuable. So you are mentioning several things that I'm quite interested in. One of those is ad monetization in T3 market and T1. It's really tailored, I think, to the user behavior. Like some people are really used to watch ads, where in US you are less used to have it. Like I was in a panel last week, and someone from India was saying even prior watching any video in India on YouTube, which is one of the like the app that is the most downloaded in India, people need to watch free ads. Nobody get an issue with it. So users have been also educated by the platform in a certain way in some T3 countries, not all obviously, but in Taiwan. In Taiwan, we have not been, I think, raised and born with this access of content if you watch ads. Like you need to understand from where we come from, especially in the gaming industry. We didn't start with free to play, right? We began with pay to play. Like you had the store, and you needed to pay in order to get your game, and then you would have no ads. So those users, they will pay, but they will have zero ads in their game. So those markets are quite old. They are used with this kind of mechanism as well, and then free to play arrived and it changed. And of course, here you can pay to have content, but you have your game for free, so more like a freemium model. And also nowadays you also have ads, but those users have not been educated from the start of the gaming rise about those kind of ads behavior. So that's why it's important to keep a balance of your ad loops, especially depending where you are going to have to have your audience. Like for instance, my audience is in Africa. I mean, some countries may be more or less keen to have it, especially for connection issue, for instance, with latency. Like they wouldn't like an ad that is just going to bug, right? So I think we shouldn't either generalize, T3 market loves ads and T1 doesn't love ads. I think it's all about your balancing, especially when you see India, like one of the game, the most profitable, I think, is PUBG. And this game is not with ads, right? You need to basically pay to play it. So I think you can't say like ad monetization work in T3 and it doesn't work in T1. It's always case by case, depending on your game, depending on what you do, and also you or user centric you are basically.
Yeah, that actually explains well. And I just wanted to very quickly add something. So especially in puzzle genre, I mean the high level puzzle genre where CPIs are, more than $10-20. Actually, it's more IAP heavy because of the user behavior. So users from tier 1 countries have more tendency for just in-app purchase than watching rewarded or interstitial ads again and again. So it's actually directly connected to retention and ARPU in the end of the day, and especially for US, England, Germany. So that's why that's also right that in tier 2 countries, users have more tendency to watch more ads. So just to keep up the spirit, I would like to go a bit more deep into details on each of our panelists' sites. So to check what they are doing differently. So I would like to start with actually Jesse, especially for Geeklab, because they are specializing in A/B testing, which is very core for puzzle games. So the question would be, when it comes to puzzle genre, what do you think about the unique niche differences in the pre-launch phase compared to other casual games, so non-puzzle games? Maybe you have some, I don't know, insights or real unique cases that you can bring up?
Yes, awesome. So I took a look at like in the past 5 years, we've been blessed to have like a lot of those top 15 games. There were a few games that actually did the pre-launch testing with us. So we've had the blessing to see these tests come and go. And one of the cool things that's quite unique to puzzle games is the fact that even though the cores themselves can be quite novel sometimes. Somehow the users still are able to kind of understand quite easily what the core is all about. So unlike with some other game genres where you have to explain, this is a match 3 game, this is like a physical puzzle game, this is like a merge game. With puzzle, that core itself is quite easily understood, which then leaves a lot more room to experiment with other things on top of it, like the theme or the art style, a lot more. And so that remains as the key focus within those tests. And that's, like I mentioned earlier, so we've seen a lot of hybrids in the top 50, and some of those are like combination of 2 different game genres, but it can also be a combination of like the existing core as it is, but with a completely new theme, like with custom Chrome Valley Customs did. By attaching like to a new target audience. And Shubham, again, great questions. There was also a question, what is the secret source that Royal Match cracked the Candy Crush or Playrix games couldn't? And I think part of that is that what they took, right, they saw something extremely successful, Toon Blast and that entire core and everything, but it had completely different theme, thus like heavy bias in terms of the target audience and how people could interpret that. And now they brought in something completely new. It's too easy to say that was the reason. It's a combination of a lot of things done right, but that is part of the secret sauce, is to find these combinations. But yeah, so as a whole, I think that the core thing with the puzzle genre is that you can truly experiment with the art and even things like how deeply the meta is integrated within the game. You can play around with like different motivations that you want to sort of express in the very early ads that you push forward, compared to just focusing on showing what the new novel core itself is, because the puzzle cores themselves are quite known, I'd say.
Yes,
Yeah.
and actually, just to add on what you say, like what I will answer to you, Shubham, is definitely that first game is really a wide scope, but also when you see like the patterns of the gaming company that actually succeeded, they always took advantage of a platform gap. Like for instance, if you take Zynga, you come from Zynga, so you must know pretty well that they overused Facebook social feature and also Facebook platform to basically get user in the game. Candy Crush, same, they use the social feature, you can rank against your friend and so on and so on. So I think like what the next puzzle game is going to do well is basically maybe to like make it on Discord or on Minecraft, who knows, but they are going to use, I think, a platform in order to scale their game and make it available to the most. It's what we saw by the past, those games did, and it has always been super successful. And once you identify a gap, for instance, like you mentioned, like different games monetize differently, maybe it's a matter of having different payment stack, for instance, like India, at the end of the day, there is a lot of, ad revenue. Maybe it's because, like at the end of the day, people can't pay as well, which is the case, for instance, in Africa, where you don't have, like credit cards, you can't pay in the store and so on and so on. So I think like the best games are entrepreneurs that saw basically where there is a gap, they read the Google Store review, they saw like the pain point from the user, and they basically built with the user and at the same time use something from a platform to take advantage of it. UGC right now content is what works the best. So I think maybe the next top sharp puzzle game will be something that will be UGC content, for instance.
Right. Yeah, and to double down on that, like echoing what you said, like we've even seen and we've even run tests where even like how much that social like feed, how many of those social features should be in the game is sort of, as funny as it sounds, running like a top of the funnel test where you try out different game features. So because of the puzzle core itself is so well known, so you can actually do that. You can have ads where your focus is more on the social side of things and social features, competitiveness, leaderboards, you name it, and then you A/B test those against each other to understand and prioritize which of the game features you'd need to develop, so that that the market actually also wants those features. We have a case example where we did this one test with this one company called Funcraft, where they had like a word puzzle game, and we thought that like putting in meta and like a character that would actually drive you through the gameplay would be the main thing, or maybe like just like very flashy visuals. And then we had one version that was fully focused on the competitive side of it. So all the social features, like just you're playing against each other in real time and so on. And then one of them, which was like, okay, actually word puzzle games are typically played in a newspaper. So maybe just like the plain newspaper look would make the thing. And what ended up happening was that the plain look was performing twice as good as an example, like the one that had the meta and the protagonist guiding you through. So just goes to show that it's very, very important to do these tests practically as soon as you have the idea, to make sure that you can kind of fail early so that you can fail twice rather than fail late and burn through a lot of cash to unfortunately only afford to fail once.
That's actually clear. Yeah. Also, I actually would like to circle back to publishing side. Faisal, what we know about 8th grade games is actually publishing games with a very remarkably short span of 60 days. And like, how do you advise to these developers for publishing their game this year? And for example, maybe you have some recent successful games from your side that, you know, could serve as a sample inspiration here. And how and why would these games succeed while others fail? What do you think?
Yeah. So when we're talking about 60-day of sprints, what we are really talking about is testing different concepts of casual puzzles into the market. So we are not building fully fledged game in 60 days. It's not possible to make a fully fledged game, but just testing the core of a game, which can potentially be turned into a proper casual puzzle, right? It's a more of a same strategy as it used to be in hyper casual, but with a different kind of mechanics. You know, typical match threes, the bubble shooters, the tile mechanic, solitaires, right? So these kind of subgenres of the puzzle, but done in a way, the way you do it with a hyper casual game. Build the core mechanic, test it with the audience, and test the early retention, day 1, day 3, for example. And then once something sticks, then you commit to that project for a longer period of time. So it's a rapid way of testing multiple concepts. So you can test like, for example, 10 concepts per year versus if you go the traditional route, you might be able to test just 1 or 2. So this way you have more chances of finding the gold idea to say. Yeah, so we don't self-publish our games. We work with Voodoo as an external studio. So basically, this entire methodology of like developing game and publishing game comes directly from Voodoo. They have a bunch of successful games which are made with this pipeline, like this way of building a game in 30 to 45 days or even 60 days, and then they have become successful games. You can look at like the success of Block Jam. That's a really successful hybrid puzzle game from them. And even if you look at the one of the example at Rolik, right, like the Screw Jam game, lately you have seen like that game is doing really well. That game originally came as like a very basic core into the market, very minimum viable product into the market, and then eventually they added all those meta and those monetization mechanics, those live op features, and now that game is making tons of in-app purchases instead of just ad revenue, and that those games can eventually transition into proper casuals where most of their revenue is coming from in-app purchases. So our approach is just stay lean, test a bunch of concepts quickly, and finalize what's the best idea among those tested games, and then spend a bunch of time on that. So yeah, figuring out things faster is basically the agenda.
Yeah, I think 8th grade games is doing perfectly. I don't know if you saw their game, but if you didn't, check it out. It's really polished game done super fast, which is I think an example for our industry and also the future. I think of what fast prototyping needs to be. Like now you need to be fast, you need to have product market fit super fast and a momentum as well, because games are changing also really fast. There is a lot of innovation in the space. So I think, you know, like this kind of thing is something that publisher right now, you know, enjoy a lot. Of course, they take their cut on this. Best case scenario, 30% to 60%. Even more, I mean, no, more it will be, I mean, I would not advise you to sign, but I think just to circle back on publisher, that publishing will have to change. Right now, basically a developer go to speak to a publisher agree to a cut and sponsor kind of the UA and everything. I think right now the scale that we see, because we are speaking about scale, is more organic. And I think, you know, Shubham, you mentioned the Ludo games and so on, and all those games, Ludo King and so on, have a massive organic growth. And the reality is that the most profitable games nowadays have an insane K factor, and that's why everyone is speaking about IPs, organic ratio, and so on. And I think this in future also will begin a KPI. So even pre-production / production, what is your community size? What is your how many you know, like people are speaking about your games? What is the K factor, the organic share, and so on? And I think publisher will have to level up also on non-paid user acquisition to scale those games, because at the end of the day, it's also the economy of partnership, getting featured in the store. I have some clients that are featured every week on the store. They need zero UA budget, right? Just because they have the right game in the good category. So I think publishing is going to change, and scale is going to change even for puzzle. UA is still something that is, you know, a main pillar, but organic strategy are going to rise it up, especially for all what is horizontal growth, and when you will watch out of those saturated market, which as are US, for instance, and you will think, for instance, about Pakistan. I mean, Faisal, Ludo is a big thing in Pakistan. Like it's where there is the most organic growth, right?
Yes, it's one of the most played games. Actually, even the board game is very famous, right? People in their spare time play it. So, you know, it's a natural transition for them to play it multiplayer, online, anywhere from the country with their friends and families. So for them, it's like a really nice app which really resembles what they do generally in real life.
Actually, there is a really nice question to Faisal from Raghu. So what should be the retention metrics for MVP? I think he's specifically asking for puzzle.
Yeah, so there are two ways to look at it. One is you can just look at the benchmark KPIs of the existing games. So for example, if you look at any successful game, the puzzle game, and let's say you see if their day one is 40% and you have a built MVP, you're obviously not going to expect 40% day one with just a minimum viable product, right? So if you are something like 30, 32, you can say, okay, we are close, we can reach to 40%. So that's one way, you know, trying to see the benchmark results of existing games. And the other thing is you can make your in-house benchmarks, right? I mean, whenever we see something like anything about 35% day one, we know that game is good. Even 30%, if you see like there's good play time and there's interesting marketability of the game, we definitely work on that game. And again, you don't need to just look at the retention because you are building MVP. You need to look at multiple factors. If playtime is very, very strong, that means users are sticking in your game. Then you can work on the variety of the content to get retention. If you see really nice marketability, maybe you might not get retention at the moment. Then you can pivot that gameplay a bit to get the retention because you know the marketing is good. Or you have playtime bad, CPI bad, but the retention is really strong. Then maybe you can play around with the levels, increase the length of the levels, maybe increase the content. You know, if you find one KPI which is outperforming everything else, you might have something interesting in that game. So you can work on that game. But if everything is just borderline and you just unable to improve it, you know, it's better to kill it, because if you're making lean products, it's better to spend your time on new product.
Yeah, there's even a saying, faster kill is a success. So you don't invest your time. Actually, there's another question by Noor. So what are the good early benchmarks for a puzzle game to test its concept? I think that would be more, I think, relevant to Claire. And I also wanted to ask Claire about, like she was mentioning about organic side, scaling side. So maybe Claire, you can combine this question with your thoughts, your ideas about this highly competitive, or let's say too pricey, too expensive market. So what are the good early benchmarks for a puzzle game to test its concept, and more than that, afterwards scale in this too pricey market?
Yes. So no, there is several ways to test your marketability. You can either test it on ad network, like for instance, Mintegral, Iron Source, Unity, you name it. And here, in most of the case, you will have like a cheap CPI. Like if you on ad network, the CPM is usually low. Your CPI will be, hopefully, if you get something decent, your CPI will be low normally. But at least in general, and it depends case by case. Marketing, it's a case by case things. But in general, your CPI will be lower than social media, for instance. It's recommended when you do marketability testing to, for instance, validate the cost per install, to also test it on social media, either Facebook or TikTok. But depending on the social media you are going to use, your CPI is going to be different. So my recommendation is to go in AppsFlyer benchmark, and they have a per category puzzle, NGO as well, because depending on where you test it as well, your country will be different. And check basically what is the CPI for this puzzle category. So if they tell you $1, for instance, it's a good sign if you have $1. I think it's something you can also have on SocialPeta, if I'm not mistaken, but Tunahan will share more about it maybe after I speak. But usually what we see for hybrid casual games, so $1 CPI with 50% day one retention, of course, is the ideal case scenario. But in the US. But if, of course, like you are, in the MVP stage, as Faisal said, like a 30%, 35% day one, depending on your sample size, and a $2 CPI can also do it. When I work on some top grossing games, the CPI was almost $8-10, so it was also fine. As soon as you can, monetize your user and have a revenue development factor that is matching the price you are actually having your user, it's what makes you profitable. So at the end of the day, I wouldn't care much about the CPI if you are able to monetize your user. But marketability, usually, like the KPI each publisher will tell you about, is day one 50% and CPI $1. But Faisal, I may be old on that front. Like, do they have some flexibility on publishing side to validate a concept, or?
Yeah, they do. So if you have a really strong retention and really crazy playtime, or like AKA engagement, they'll be like, okay, it's fine, a little bit higher CPI is fine. So again, it's all about finding the balance between marketability and the in-game engagement. If you can find a balance where you think this game can be profitable, it's all good. There is flexibility to it.
And if you don't mind me quickly tapping into this as well, because it had the word concept in it, so I can think it also refers to like very, very early testing, right? Which is exactly this pre-launch testing that I talked a bit earlier about. So in that, like when you look for success and look for benchmarks, they are always A/B tests, and that's kind of a different mindset than like having a strict figure that you need to actually achieve, specifically when it comes to marketing metrics. So within A/B testing, you're always measuring the results within the context of that test itself. So you have your hypothesis about which theme. So we're talking about, or I think Shubham was talking about cooking a meta with the puzzle games as a combo. So that's a valid test. You test out a cooking meta with against a hospital meta, against like a traffic jam meta with the puzzle core against each other. So then in that particular thing, you don't have a sort of outside benchmark that's your main goal. The main goal is to find the difference between these variants within that particular test, because we've seen this countless times too. Like, even if you have like very, very great success early on, everything gets destroyed when it comes to scale. And the good question is like, how do I know if these CPIs will last when I scale? most likely they won't, and that's kind of the process of the ongoing like testing and ongoing optimization is to just keep on like doing these tests and figuring out within your current scope and your current scale like what are the right decisions to do, and when I do these decisions, what are the actual impacts that those will lead into.
That's actually so true. So your CPI will never stay same. And more than that, when I was working for ad networks, actually we even saw that although the average LTV, let's say $5, we saw many publishers paying $10 because the highly targeting users were bringing them triple money, and you can pay more if it's profitable. So and actually more than that, Claire mentioned about a very important topic, which is indexes, so benchmarks, and actually all of you should definitely keep up with either Flyer report or SocialPeta report. So not only retention, but also CPI whatsoever. So they definitely give insights to you. Where I circle back to actually SocialPeta, Tunahan, because as far as I know, we like have a significant research from SocialPeta on specifically puzzle games. So what are the current like effective advertising strategies inside this hot topic? Maybe from benchmarks to creatives, what performs best? Maybe you can share some highlights with us.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very great question. So as SocialPeta, as I mentioned before, advertisers are rising, and it's important in the market. The market is more competitive than ever before, as we saw in our reports. And so for this, you have to come up with a good, effective advertising strategy. I'm going to first start with effective advertising strategies, and then I will share some insights about ad creatives, about what kind of puzzle game creatives are popular in the market. First of all, for effective advertising strategies, targeted advertising is very important. First, you have to know your audience. And you have to know their such as age group, interests, and their behavior patterns. And this is really important for your game and for the player to engage with your game. And there's a term like look-like audience. So you have to create like look-like audiences based on your existing high-value players to find new users with some similar characteristics. So this is very important for targeted advertising. This is so crucial. So that's why I started with this. And you have to know who is playing your game. And the second is platform-specific campaigns is also important. So as SocialPeta, we saw that for puzzle games, especially Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, those kind of platforms are very popular for puzzle games at creatives, because in those networks, social media platforms, visual contents are very effective, and you can also search ads. Like you can use Google Ads and Apple Search Ads to capture users actively searching for puzzle games. And another thing, influencer marketing is also important. For example, you can partner with gaming influencers or content creators, and they can promote the game through gameplay videos, reviews, and live streams. And you also have to check the market data. This is exactly what SocialPeta does. You have to see what your competitors are doing. You have to know their best practices and their weakest points, for example, in which marketing strategy they have succeeded and in which marketing strategy they have failed. And so for SocialPeta, you can also check your competitors' promotion strategy. It helps you with this. And now I want to mention about the ad creatives perspective, puzzle games ad creatives perspective. Ad creatives are very important to get new users. For ad creative, as SocialPeta, we have seen that engaging ad creatives are becoming very popular. What I mean by that, the users have to engage with your ad creatives. It can be like playable ad creatives, like they can play some part from in the playable ads. They can play some part from your game, and it's very engaging. And you have to highlight unique game mechanics, levels, and challenges in your ad creative. And this can give potential players a clear idea of what to expect. And it's also very important, very crucial. The first, third, or fourth second of your creatives are very important, and you have to capture the audiences in the first, third, or fourth second. And as I mentioned, interactive ads are very effective method for this. And for example, users can try a mini version of the game directly within the ad, and this can create experience for the engagement. And we also have seen story-driven ads, like narrative elements, like there are short stories in the ad creatives, or there are some ad creative trends, like for example, in one ad creative, we can see a famous person or normal person is playing the game and making comments, and they are giving subtitles. Some of you have seen those kind of creatives. For example, when you see the creatives, there's subtitle and there's an influencer mentioning about the game, and it's very crucial. It's very effective marketing strategy in ad creatives. And there's also some popular trends in puzzle game ad creators. For example, there are some elements in our latest SocialPeta report. We also have seen that, for example, for puzzle games, failure elements, like when users can see a failure in the ad creative, they want to correct the failure. So this is one of the ad creative strategy we have seen in ad creatives. And user-generated ad creatives, UGC ad creatives, are becoming very popular, like social proof as testimonials, we say like this. For example, users highlight the positive, you can highlight the positive user reviews in your ad creative, or ratings and testimonials. And this can also create very effective marketing ad creative strategy for yourself. And as for SocialPeta, we have many ad creative data in our platform, and we have collected more than 1.4 billion ad creative data. And when you check your, when you want to find the best ad creatives in the market in your genre, for example, we have some parameters like impression, duration, popularity. Those are some parameters. For example, when you search ads with in 7 days with estimated impression rates, and when you see the creators with the most estimated impression rates, we can give high quality ad creators in the market. And lastly, for puzzle games and for each game genre, it can be each game genre, you have to know which genre ad creatives is, for example, the trend for each game genre. For puzzle games, as I mentioned, failure or UGC or real person elements in ad creatives are very popular these days. And lastly, maybe seasonal and seasonal events, also create ads around seasonal events or holidays are also becoming very popular. For example, in Christmas, you can create a Christmas related ad creatives, like something like this. So it's pretty like this. I hope I have covered many important points for ad creatives in this matter.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Turan. And actually, we already have some more questions. So right before starting with Q&A side, I would like to start with Lim Kang Meng's question. So she actually straightforwardly shooted a really nice one. What are players looking for? I actually really like the question, and maybe we should even make it more general, as when we think about very catchy, very successful puzzle game, what key features do you think? Like, what is it basically? What is this? Any concise comments, tricks over there?
Yeah, so
Jesse, you go first.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever I play like my favorite puzzle games, I look for a little bit of challenge, but at the same time, equal amount of satisfaction in the level. Like my favorite is Royal Match, like as everyone else enjoy Royal Match. So for me, the most satisfying thing about Royal Match is when I play it, I get that satisfying explosions, that nice feel of the game. For me, that's like satisfaction, but at the same time, it's a very, very challenging game. So I'm getting satisfaction and challenge at the same time. And also I think what makes these games really fun is just like 2-minute level. So I can sneak in 2 minutes here and there, and it fits within my life, you know. And I think, yeah, there needs to be two things: satisfaction and challenge at the same time, and it needs to fit within our lives, right? Small, short sessions. I think these are like few things I think all the top puzzle games have. Not just like match 3, but like even tile games, the bubble shooters. You see their level length, their satisfaction, and their challenge. They have all three factors in all of those games in terms of product side of things.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, I agree fully. I was about to mention that like one of the approaches to take a look at both game design as well as then marketing is to use frameworks like One Big Foundry, where you have like different motivations that players want to get fulfilled. Yeah, like a part of those are kind of ones that always typically stick within each of the puzzle games. But then on top of that, like depending on the subgenre, and again these hybrids, so you can combine it with other things. So it could be that one that Playrix has done very well is always bringing in something where it's more about the discovery, about the fact that you can get to customize your or discover new things, unlock new things whilst you play along. All these other type of things that you can then add on top of the sort of common puzzle motivations, like Faisal nicely put in already.
Yeah, and I think what is the most important, and we will never tell it enough, is that people change, audiences change, and depending on your audience, it will be super different what they are looking for. I mentioned this game that is featured every day and get only organic growth, which is actually top apps of the subgenre, and it's like a RPG match-3 game. So you see, like depending also on what game genre you are doing, it will be super different, and the expectation of the player are going to be super different as well. Like I wouldn't compare, this to Royal Match. The scale is not comparable to Royal Match as well, but still in the small subgenre, it's something working well. So definitely something to keep in mind, depending on, if you are speaking to Gen Z, to a computer player, to mobile player, it will be super different. So it's always case by case, which is amazing with marketing.
Yeah, actually, that's so true. And more than that, not every puzzle game is targeting over 30 female audience. There are also some male targeted games, puzzle games, even 80%. Just like there was the Space Ape Games. I think they have one card game, puzzle integrated. Yeah, actually, we have two questions. Actually, one question, one comment from Shubham. So I think I agree. He said Royal Match is a new benchmark for puzzle games. Like they are kind of leading the market. So of course, everyone is checking around. And he asked, what are the types of marketing campaigns we can do for at least amount of spend and get some players? What do you say about this?
Okay, maybe I
100% affiliate, influencer, 100%.
For this, especially if you are a small or middle game size company, you have a limited user acquisition budget, and for this you have to check data. Maybe you can grow organically, but it's not guaranteed. So if you have a limited budget, you have to check the successful cases, and by doing so, by getting data, especially getting data is right now, like tools like such as our tool, you can know at least what kind of successful cases there are in the market for marketing case, and you have to make 1 or 2 shots to be successful. So you have to spend clearly, you have to make plan, you have to leverage data.
Yeah, and maybe to that, I love that the organic side has been brought up a couple of times already, and it's a really good point. Like it's unfortunately or fortunately, we're not in the day and age anymore where we can just like hand all the money to Facebook and they find the audience and things get successful. It's more about like a multimedia, multi-channel like approach these days. So one of the things I want to highlight, though, that organic isn't like free either, in terms of money itself. So you still have to be successful. You typically have to tie in some search ads campaigns or UAC. There's a ton of things that go into it. If not from the money point of view, so then from heavy resource point of view, community building, that takes a lot of time and effort as well. So free, like completely free uses from money and time point of view, unfortunately, do not exist. And when it comes to the least amount of spend to get some players, so the obvious thing that we see quite often, specifically when you do tech launches and stuff where you just want to verify that things work, is to go into and acquire users from Philippines with very top of the funnel optimization strategies. So instead of optimizing for high value users, you just simply optimize towards installs or even like ad clicks to get like as many users as possible. But that obviously then comes with the downside of being less optimized part of the funnel. So then the retention and other things will for a fact take a hit as well. But yeah, that's one of the ways to get least I want to spend, but get some players in.
Yes, and actually when I speak about featuring like on store, like like there is a focus on Google and Apple, so I will more mention featuring. But now like I think organic is also meant to grow because APK distribution, for instance, via website is something working really well in emerging market and so on and so on. So like there is some leader also doing their alternative store and everything. So I think like now, like in Google and Apple, yes, you need to pay to be there or have good relationship. But there is some alternative strategy. And I see there is a question regarding to PC and console games, which I think is a really good question because all those games, Blizzard game, Overwatch, and so on and so on, you name it. Basically, it's not click to install. It's not click to install user acquisition, right? Like they are working on a high brand awareness budget. They are trying to be, the one that is the most well known, and so on and so on. So here, even there, the organic definition is even different because they boost their organic, but with massive brand awareness campaign as well. So definitely mobile PC, I wouldn't treat it the same. I think it's a really good question, Lim. So thanks a lot for asking.
Yeah. And
so,
even with featuring, real quick, like even with featuring as well. So that requires then a lot of actual effort and not necessarily, you can't pay for Apple to get featured, but then on the other side, it requires a ton of work. You have to answer to reviews and make sure that your game hits like all these certain points. So it's definitely a way to acquire users as well. But again, requires resources and in this case, your time and a lot of it.
And a good game. If you are
Yeah.
under 4.7, don't even expect featuring. So
yeah. So actually, we are in our last minute. So we have actually 4 more questions, but I have to just forward them to you guys in person. So all our panelists actually do have LinkedIn. So I just want to read the questions very quickly. So Sumit asked, what's your point of view on narrative-based match 3 games? And Lim asked about where can I start gathering and building up a community for my game? And Shubham asked about what is the difference between the players in Philippines compared to US players in terms of user acquisition? And Noor asked about, do you have any recommendations for a UA platform that works better for a puzzle game specifically targeted for female market in US? And Janar asked do you find it useful to use hyper-casual mechanics in your marketing videos for puzzle games? Sadly, it would take us 10 more minutes, and actually we already run out of time, so very sadly. But I am 100% sure our panelists would answer to you very quickly, so just shoot them over via LinkedIn, and they are nice guys, I swear, and I know them. So thanks everyone, and thanks SocialPeta, thanks for joining. Claire, Faisal, Jesse, Tunahan, it was a pleasure, of course. So Lina, she supported us very well, I think. So I hereby end the panel. What do you say, guys?
Thank you very much. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you very much.
Oh,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.
Have a nice one. Watch the Euro Cup.
Yes. Bye.